Welcome in, everybody, for a live preview of the NLCS. We've done the first round, we did the wildcard round, we did the NLDS, and now it is time to dig into the NLCS, which just became official moments ago when the LA Dodgers finished up the sweep of the San Diego Padres. The Slam Diego Padres of 2020 are officially put to bed in quick order. 3-0 sweep. Everybody in San Diego hoped this was going to be close. The fans and the organization alike, all those trades they moved at the deadline were to make this a competitive series. And unfortunately, they were not in at full strength. Clevenger couldn't go. Lamet couldn't go. Lamet was the one guy in that rotation that pitched well against the Dodgers this year, and they didn't have him. Really made it tough on him. So we go Dodgers over the Padres, and earlier in the day, the Braves took care of the Marlins. So both get the sweep. Both move into this thing looking good. Let's break it down real quick. Dodgers first in the West, 43-17, one of two teams to make it to 40 wins this year. The Rays were the other. And the Braves first in the East, 35-24. We've got East versus West. Obviously, with the rules and how Major League Baseball set the schedule this year, they have not faced one another this season. The Dodgers had the Major League best team ERA, 3.06, and were one of two teams to reach 100 homers this year. The other team is a team they're going to face, the Atlanta Braves. The Braves, which led Major League Baseball in slugging. So even though they didn't lead in homers, they did lead in slugging. Dodgers over the Padres, 5-1, 6-5, and 12-3. That game two was really the only one that was close. And the Braves, they get 4 shutouts this postseason. They take care of the Marlins 9-5, 2-0, and 7-0. So now let's look ahead at the matchups for this series. So first, let's look at the pitching, and then we'll look at the hitting. We'll look at the hitting. Kershaw, 6-2 on the year, 2.15 ERA. Back in the NLCS, where he is just 3-5 with a 4.61 ERA and 9 starts. Now, before Dodger fans get a hold of this and they're like, "Come on, he's been great this year, hasn't been that bad lately," that is true, and I want to mention that. 2-0 in the playoffs this season, and he's pitched better in the NLCS the last few times. 2018 versus Milwaukee, he was good. 2017 and 2016 versus the Cubs, he was good. A lot of that high ERA and losing record comes from earlier in his career. He has been better as of late. Against the Braves, they're only hitting 23. They're 23 out of 100 against Kershaw. We'll do a deeper dive into the hitters in a minute when we get there. Let's look at Buehler. 1-0 on the year. Hasn't made it past the 5th inning in either of his last 2 starts here in the postseason. 8 innings total. Has struck out 16, but he's walked 6, and that's the only thing that I'm kind of concerned about. I'm worried about the walks. I'm sure he'll get it in order. In 2018 in the NLCS against Milwaukee, made 2 starts, put up a 3.86 ERA, pitched 11 2/3 innings, just 1 walk there, but did give up a lot of hits, 12 hits in that series. So the walks were in order, but the hits were kind of high. But I like Buehler in this in the playoffs. I think Buehler's a clutch pitcher. I think he's pretty good. Against the Braves, they're just 6 for 37 against him. And after that, it's kind of like, who's next? We saw a little bit of Dustin May in the NLDS, and he pitched well. We saw a little bit of Urias. It was some bulk innings, and he pitched well. Ultimately, pitched well against the Brewers in a bulk inning. He's going to have to start. This is a best of 7 now. So now we're back to real baseball. This is going to be at least 4 games. So you're going to have to see more than 2 Dodgers starters. I got to think it's Urias, just with how they pitched him, bulk innings in the playoffs so far. So he's probably going to be a game 3 or game 4 starter. And then I just feel like they have the most confidence in Dustin May. Gonsolin is good, had a good season. He hasn't pitched, though, since September 26th. So I got to think the Dodgers would ease him in via the bullpen. May has been pitching in the playoffs. Gonsolin hasn't. So that makes me think that it is going to be May. We got some guys here, Braves in 5, Braves in 6. Rock on. I mean, I think those are very reasonable predictions there. It's certainly not going to be a sweep. I think we're going to have a really good series. I love the East and West. I always love that. But we're going to have a situation with the Dodgers where they're going to have to go deeper into that rotation, where we're going to see, can they get it done with May and Arias. Let's look at the Braves. So it's led by, at least through the season, Max Fried, because you don't have Soroka. King Felix opted out. Hamels never amounted to anything. So Max was 7-0, 2.25 ERA. Then you got Ian Anderson, who is dominating in the playoffs. Ian Anderson is the truth. I got some people on my channel in the comments saying Kyle Wright's got the best stuff. I don't know. Ian Anderson is just a monster, and he's been unbelievable. He's great during the regular season. He's been huge in the playoffs when they really needed it. And then the third starter here, Kyle Wright, 2-4 in the year, 5.21 ERA. Until his last 3 starts, his career looked like it was circling the drain, but it has gotten a lot better. Wins the clinching game against Miami, 6 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts, just 3 hits and 2 walks. He was pitching with a bigger strike zone, but that was the strike zone. Yes, some of the pitches that were low, that maybe were balls, were called strikes, but that doesn't matter. That was the strike zone in the game. Both pitchers were dealing with it, and Kyle Wright did well, and he helps the Braves get their 4th shutout, as he was nice. The Braves getting a lot of help from the young starters here. So, maybe more established on the Dodgers side with Kershaw and Buehler, though, Kershaw, he's got the playoff history, better lately, but still. Let's look at the bats. Who am I going to be looking for? Who do we need to watch for here? Now, what's interesting about the Dodgers is there's not a lot of history with these Braves pitchers, obviously, right? Kyle Wright, just getting started. Ian Anderson, just getting started. Max, last year was his rookie year. So there's not a ton of history here to go off of. But you got to watch out for Mookie Betts. Betts in the first and second round was just great. 7 for 19, 5 runs scored, a bunch of doubles. Just a great performance by Mookie Betts. Let me jump back to one thing, though, I have in my notes that I don't want to overlook. And it's the batting average against right and left-handed batters against Max Fried and Ian Anderson, because we know the Dodgers, one of their strategies is to stack, against righties. They're going to stack it with lefties. Against lefties, they're going to stack with righties. The good news here for Braves fans, for Braves pitching, Max Fried against right-handed pitching, they hit 209 against him this year, and against left-handed pitching, 220. He was actually better against right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters by a little bit. But righties only hit 209, lefties hit 220. That's a great sign. On the other side, too, Ian Anderson. Let's look at Ian Anderson. Again, righties hit 200 against him, lefties hit 145. So good news if you're looking at your pitching and you're a Braves fan and you're worried about the Dodgers stacking the lineup with a bunch of lefties. It shouldn't matter. Jock Peterson, who only hits against righties, shouldn't matter. So that is going to be something interesting to watch. Can Anderson continue to pitch as well against lefties, and can Max continue to pitch as well against righties as they have? Because they will certainly be tested against a very tough Dodger lineup, and I'm sure they'll still see their fair share of righties for Max and lefties for Anderson. But I think they're going to do all right. Getting back to the hitters again, we're focusing in on the hitters real quick. Going to do a closer look than we had in the NLDS and in the wild card round. Betts, again, we were talking about him. Let's look at who's got the head-to-head. Bellinger against Max Fried. Bellinger came in, did well, 2 for 7 in the first round, 4 for 12 in round 2, did have the home run. Against Max, he's 2 for 5 with a homer and 3 RBI. Something to watch for. Justin Turner also has a nice favorable history against Max Fried, 3 for 4 with a homer and an RBI. But again, it's just 4 at-bats. There's not a lot of history at all to go off of. Current Dodgers are 10 for 27 against Max. It's just 27 at bats, though. Those things can tend to even themselves out. So, that'll be another interesting point. Let's look at, so we got Bellinger, you got Muncy, 1 for 1, 2 RBIs, Pollock. So ultimately, not a lot of history. 1 at bat, 2 at bats, 3 at bats, not a whole lot against Max Fried. It's really what I'm looking for is what they have done lately. Betts was great in the divisional round. Seager's been great all year, and he was good again. 4 for 11, 2 doubles, 3 walks. When I see 2 doubles and 3 walks out of 14 plate appearances, that just tells me the guy's seeing the ball well. He's being patient. He's hitting well. So, not a long layoff here either to get cold or anything. They're going to be playing on Sunday. So, Seager's going to be interesting to me. Will Smith, first Dodger ever in the playoffs to have a 5-hit game, which is just amazing to me to think about all the great Dodgers. He's the first one that has a 5-hit game in the playoffs. He did that tonight, 5 for 11. He did everything he did in this round he did tonight. He was hitless coming into this game. He was actually 0 for his first 11 at bats in the playoffs until this 5 for 6 game. How does he fare moving forward? We just talked about Bellinger. Taylor, who was good in the first round, puts up an 0 for 11. Let's get a couple walks. The history against Fried, 1 for 3, and then again, doesn't have any history against the other guys. Let's see, Jock, 2 for 5 tonight. He'll be out there. He won't play against Max, but he will go up against Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright. We'll see how they do. Again, Anderson's holding his own against left-handed pitching. So ultimately, the guys that I'm looking for, because there's not a lot of history against the against these hitters and the Braves pitching, I'm watching Betts. I'm watching Smith, see how he carries into the NLCS, and probably Seager. I mean, those are the guys. Always Bellinger. You got to watch out for Bellinger, but I really like how Seager's been playing all year long, and I think he's just been great. He was great in the NLDS. Let's look over at the Braves. This is not a one-sided thing. This is not a pro-Braves or pro-Dodgers. We're looking at this objectively. Ronald Acuna Jr. is just providing a spark for the Braves, and his energy is infectious. You kind of wish, if you're a Braves fan, it would bleed into Freddie Freeman, who's hitting right after him. Acuna, 4 for 11 in round 1, 4 for 11 in round 2, gets the homer to lead off the NLDS. Freddie Freeman just 2 for 12 in round 2, 1 for 6 in round 1. Did draw a bunch of walks in round 1 though, so he's still been getting on base. They've been productive at bats, but you just like to see him hit the ball more. He's going to have to hit the ball more against the Dodgers. If you see a 2 for 12 from Freddie Freeman at the end of this NLCS, you're probably going to be sad if you're a Braves fan. That won't work out. Ozuna's been all right, just 1 for 9 in round 1, but it was a homer. 4 for 13 in round 2 with 3 RBIs. d'Arnaud is just reborn with the Braves. He's been fantastic. I know it kind of got started a little bit last year, but he's really been great with the Braves. And in this round, 6 for 10, 2 homers, 7 RBI was great. So when it comes to Braves hitters, I'm looking at Acuna, Freeman, Ozuna, d'Arnaud, and Swanson. I like how Swanson was hitting the ball in the NLCS. I'm sorry, the NLDS. Just 1 for 9, a nice bounce back after that 1 for 9 first round to go 4 for 10. Markakis and Riley, what are you going to get out of them? You do need more out of Ozzie Albies. You do need more out of Duvall. Duvall has basically been an all or nothing kind of guy. 1 for 8 in the first round, 1 for 12 in round 2. Duvall's got to do more. He just has to. And I think with Ozzie, you're counting on it. I mean, 2 for 8, 2 for 12 isn't horrible. There's plenty of time for him to get hot, but they will definitely need more. Against Buehler, here's the thing about Ozzie. He doesn't have any great matchups against let's see, Kershaw. Ozzie's 3 for 8 with a strikeout. I mean, 3 for 8's not bad, don't get me wrong. But 0 for 3 against Buehler, 0 for 3 against Urias, 0 for 1 against May. If he sees Gonsolin, it's 0 for 2. We're going to need more from Ozzie Albies out of this thing. Ronald Acuna is the kind of guy where you look at the head-to-head matchups, but in the end, he's going to hit. Against Kershaw, Acuna is 1 for 7, 1 home run, 2 RBI, 2 strikeouts. Against Buehler, he's 0 for 3. Against Urias, he's 0 for 3. May, he didn't have an at-bat against May. Against Gonsolin, he's 1 for 2. But again, some 0-fers there, some 1-fers there, but not a lot of history. The most history is, of course, against Kershaw. I'm not worried about it, though. I think Acuna he's just a different animal. Freddie Freeman, interesting. Freddie Freeman has done well against Kershaw, 6 for 22, a double, a homer, 3 walks. He slashed 273, 360, and 455 against Clayton Kershaw, and that's fine. That's actually a good slash line for somebody who's going to be hitting 2. Not lighting the world on fire, but not going to be an easy out. He's going to do something with his at-bats, and that's what they're going to need out of that number 2 spot. Other head-to-head matchups that I'm kind of interested in looking at here. Again, keeping on the Freeman train against Buehler. He's 1 for 5 with a homer and 2 RBI. And then not a lot of history against May and Gonsolin and Urias. Those 3 are kind of getting themselves established. This going to be a fun one. Who's going to win it is this could be tough, between the Braves and the Dodgers. I've been riding them, in every round. I felt good about them, obviously, in round 1. Felt good about the Dodgers going up against the Padres and the Braves going up against the Marlins. When these 2 get pitted up against one another, man, this is a tricky one. What makes it tricky is there's not a lot of history. The most history is Kershaw against some of these Brave hitters, and because the Dodgers haven't seen enough of the Braves pitching. The bullpen's pretty solid on both sides. I think I might like the Braves bullpen a little bit more than the Dodgers bullpen, because one of the things the Dodgers have been able to do in these shorter series is they haven't had to go deep into the bullpen, right? They've used Urias, they've used May, they've used their best pitchers. They haven't had to go deep into the bullpen. So, and the Braves have been fine when they've gone in the bullpen. So, I give the edge to the bullpen, to the Braves. Starting pitching, what we've seen this postseason, I think the edge goes to the Braves. The bats, both teams can hit. It's just they can crush it. Thinking about this game, if this game was in LA, let's look at this. If the Dodgers, because they are the 1 seed and the Braves are the 2 seed, so the Dodgers would have home field advantage. If the Dodgers were home and could play in that park, which we've seen in that Astros and A's series, that ball is flying. I might give it to the Dodgers, but because it's a neutral site, Dodgers fans, don't kill me. This is a tough one. I've been rambling now for 2 or 3 minutes trying to come up with a prediction here, because this is a good series. But because it is at a neutral site, I think the fact that the Dodgers haven't seen Ian Anderson, they haven't seen Kyle Wright. If Kyle Wright pitches like he did again against the Marlins in his last couple starts, with all of that in mind, I think it's going to go Braves. And as far as how many games goes, this is probably a 6 or maybe a 7-game series. And I'm going to take the Braves. I think that, listen, and I'm going to just give you my personal hope. I wanted a Yankees and Dodgers World Series at the beginning of this thing, at the beginning of the season, just because I felt like that had the most history for baseball. You had the big names, the big markets. It would just appeal to the entire country, unless you're a Yankee hater. But still, you'd root for the Dodgers. So I was hoping for a Yankees and Dodgers World Series, and I'm a Blue Jays fan, so I have no dog in the fight here. And I'm going to pick the Braves. I'm going to take the Braves here to get over the Dodgers, get past them, and move on to the World Series, and get back to their first World Series since the 90s, right? So that's the way that I'm leaning. It's going to be a great world. It's going to be a great World Series. It will be a great World Series, but first we got to get there. It'll be a great NLCS. I'm looking forward to it. This is a 1 versus a 2. These are the two teams that hit the most home runs throughout the year. The Braves led in slugging. It's just the pitching has been fantastic. You know, the Braves 4 shutouts. You got everything you want. This is a great NLCS. I'm glad it worked out this way, a 1 versus a 2. You know, if it was Dodgers and Reds or Padres and Marlins, you know, maybe there would be some fun and exciting moments in that, but these are the two best teams. Every inning is going to be grueling for both sides. I think every game is almost going to feel like an elimination game. So I'm into it. I think this is good. The only way this goes sour for the Braves is if the Dodgers figure out Ian Anderson, which again, they haven't seen him enough. When you're seeing somebody for the first time, you can look at the tape, you can watch the video, but until you step in the box and actually see it, you see the release, you see the speed of the ball, you just don't know. So they have that advantage that they haven't seen Kyle Wright. They haven't seen Ian Anderson, so that's going to be a big bonus. So the only thing that I think goes wrong for the Braves is if those two rookies go in there and they buckle under the pressure. That's it. I think other than that, if things continue the way they've been going, I think it is the Braves moving on. I give myself that little back door there, right? You see that? I gave myself back door. If Wright and Anderson get blown up, then the Dodgers move on. But I'm going to pick the Braves. I'm going to go on the record as picking the Braves. So if you're watching this and you see anything that I missed, comment below, add into this. This is not just me talking about it. Let's get a discussion going. Add into the comments, you know, what you think is going to be a big component to this. Let me know. Maybe something I missed. Again, I'm not a Braves fan. I'm not a Dodgers fan. I'm a baseball fan. I love watching this stuff. I think I've watched almost every inning of these playoffs, and you know, a ton during the regular season. So, and then I've spent probably 2 hours looking up numbers before this. So I'm gathering all the data. If I miss anything, add it into the comments below. I didn't overlook it on purpose. It would have just been an oversight. So comment. Let's get a conversation going. Thank you guys for checking this out. If you haven't, please subscribe. Tons of baseball on here. We're also doing, you know, football stuff, you know, Sundays and early week, but ton of baseball content. That's where, you know, number one, that's where we go is to baseball. And I'm looking forward to this. Thank you guys for checking it out. Hey, there probably, I'm thinking about, there will probably be a produced version of this tomorrow. I'm going to, you know, gather my thoughts, re-record it, probably package it into about a 10-minute video with some highlights from the games and some highlights from the pitching and all that. So if you're checking this out, there probably will be a produced version tomorrow, again, with some game tape and with a condensed version about half the time that this took. But for those of you that are here, it's 1:40 on the East. As long as Sandoval starts Braves in 4. Yeah, that Pablo Sandoval. There's the X factor. The Panda is the X factor in this. Thank you guys for checking this out. I look forward to talking to you more as we get along and we see who the ALCS is. We'll be back to do one of those. And then, of course, previewing the World Series when we get to that. Thank you for checking this video out and the channel out. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Take care, everybody.